Good morning, friends! Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. Right now I am in beautiful Umbria, Italy, and I'm going to be taking you along with me on the adventures that this day will bring. If you've never heard of Umbria before, I'll show you right here on a map. It's kind of in the middle of the Italy boot. It is a landlocked region and it looks a little similar to Tuscany, which is where we just came from, except at least in my opinion, it looks a little bit maybe more mountainous, a little bit more foresty. A lot of olive trees, a lot of vineyards, and today we're actually going to be going to Montefalco, which is known for its wine. It was voted one of the most beautiful towns in Italy, so I have high expectations. I think it's going to be very beautiful and scenic. And then after that, I'm going to be taking you along with me as we go wine tasting at one of the well-known local vineyards. So I hope you guys are excited to see that. We are staying at a place right now called Nun Hotel and Spa in Assisi. Assisi is one of the kind of like bigger, more well-known historical hill towns here in the region of Umbria. And this place, Nun Hotel, it's so beautiful, guys. It's called Nun Hotel because it actually used to be a nunnery. I'll show you some clips right here of what it looks like. Everything is made in this very lightly colored, calming, beautiful stone. It's very breathtaking and it is a spa, so it just kind of has like a lot of relaxing vibes, and all the rooms surround a center courtyard. Again, I'll show you some clips right here so you can see what it looks like. Beautiful gardens, beautiful flowers and plants, cypress trees, really, really pretty. I'm actually going to cut real quick to a room tour so you guys can see what our room looks like. Okay, so let me do a little tour of our room. Right here we've got kind of like a little living room area, some comfy looking chairs where we can sit, TV here that we probably won't be using, a little welcome snack here from our travel agent, some delicious summer fruits, definitely gonna dig into that, and I don't know what these are, maybe some little muffins. We've got water, we've got a little biscotti, kind of like desk console table here. I really like this closet. There's like a whole closet here for our luggage with drawers, hangers, hopefully an iron here somewhere, places to put all of our suitcases, which is great so that they don't get in the way. This is the bathroom. I love the stone and tiling in here. It smells amazing. I don't know if it's like the soaps or the diffuser, but it smells really good. Looks like a nice shower. I think that might be like a rain shower type of thing there at the top. And then this is our room. I like the wood paneling. Is that what you would call that? Wood paneling. All the colors here are very like calming and serene. Got a little bit of art, another TV, and then you want to come out so I can show the view? And then we have our little balcony with a view of the beautiful courtyard. Oh my gosh. The temperature right now, because the sun is going down, is just absolutely perfect, and this is such a relaxing view. So that is the room. That's where we're staying. I always like to see room tours, so I filmed that yesterday before our room became a little bit of a mess. So yeah, we got here yesterday. We had dinner at the hotel restaurant. It was amazing, and we actually got to try one of the local varieties that we're going to be tasting today in Montefalco. It is called sagrantino. It is a very kind of like pungent, astringent, and tannic grape variety that I believe they only grow here in that Montefalco region. It requires a lot of aging to kind of like smooth out the tannins and just all of the flavors. It is a very powerful wine. We had it yesterday at dinner. I must say, I did order a bottle from one of like the well-known wineries. Wasn't my favorite, but I'm excited today to be tasting maybe some other versions of it, maybe like some that have been aged a little bit more, just to see if I like it. They also grow primarily Sangiovese in this area, and for whites, I think it's mostly Grosseto and Trebbiano. So hopefully I can teach you guys a little something about wine today. I do have a level 3 certificate in wine, so I'm a little bit of a wine snob, okay? I think you guys will enjoy this vlog. Maybe my mind can be changed. Maybe I will like Sagrantino by the end of this day. We shall see. Welcome to Montefalco, a small but beautiful hilltop town that has been populated since pre-Roman times. Sitting high atop a hill overlooking olive trees and the grapevines that feed its wine production, the scenic views of the town have earned it its nickname as the balcony railing of Umbria. And indeed, it is a stunning town to visit and seems to be often overlooked by other travelers and travel guides that I watched. With many of its historic buildings having been retained, Montefalco is a transportive place with small winding streets, cobbly staircases, and of course, scenic views of the valley. For such a small town, there's a surprising number of things to see. However, if it weren't for our guide, I may not have even noticed the tiny neighborhood vineyards or hidden chapels right along the sides of the streets. You'll see that we popped into several of these hidden gems along the way, finding beautiful paintings or even the remains of a historic fresco. The star of the city, however, is the town's museum, which we went to next. The first part of the museum hosts beautiful art pieces from local Montefalco artists. The latter part of the museum is a church itself, or at least a former church. This was one of my favorite places that I visited in Italy. The church displays a fresco cycle detailing the life of Saint Francis. Using the imagery, our guide told us the entire story, perhaps as those who couldn't read would have learned back then. Being an art lover myself, I really enjoyed pausing to admire the frescoes and learn about Saint Francis. As a prominent historical and religious figure in this region of Italy, it really helped us understand so much of the art that we witnessed for the rest of the trip. The rest of the museum displays a small collection of antiquities, some of those being ancient winemaking tools. And speaking of wine, that is where we were on to next. The town of Montefalco is situated within the wine region of Montefalco DOC. Here, the most common varieties being grown are Trebbiano, Recetto, Sangiovese, and of course, the most well-known Sagrantino. Sagrantino is indigenous to Umbria, holding its own distinct designated production area, DOCG, within the region. The origins of this grape are often debated, but we do know that originally Sagrantino was used to produce a sweet wine by first drying the grapes in the Umbrian sun on wooden racks. Sagrantino is a low-yielding variety with one of the highest tannic levels in the world, twice the level of Cabernet Sauvignon and Nebbiolo. So it requires a lot of aging and techniques in the winery to create a drinkable wine. 37 months of aging and at least 4 months in the bottle. That is why you often see these wines and similarly something like Nebbiolo being priced quite high on a menu. Some of the most common notes are black fruits, licorice, black tea, black olive, dried flowers and herbs, and black pepper. Almost all of Sagrantino production occurs right here in this region. By the 1960s, the sweet wine production of Sagrantino was mostly forgotten. However, a few notable producers in the region revived the production and modernized the now popular dry expression. And here we find ourselves at the Caprai Vineyard, one of the premier wineries of the region where entrepreneur Arnaldo Caprai began producing Sagrantino in 1971 with the motivation to revitalize and valorize the variety. Caprai manages 160 hectares of vineyards located in all 4 cardinal points of the Montefalco DOCG area. In addition to growing Sagrantino and Grechetto, they also cultivate Sangiovese, Merlot, Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, and Cabernet Sauvignon. During the tour, we learned that the winery today is currently owned by Arnaldo's son, Marco Caprai. It was also interesting to learn that their current winemaker is actually a woman in her 30s, just like me. Her name is Vera Lafranconi, hopefully I'm pronouncing that okay, and she is carrying on the Caprai traditions while also infusing the brand with modern techniques and styles. After the tour, we sat down in the late afternoon Umbrian heat to enjoy some snacks and, of course, taste the wine. Let's see what I think. So this is the Grechetto, I think she said it was pronounced. It has some really nice, like, pineapple, tropical fruit aroma. A little bit of, like, honey. Good acidity. It's really nice. It has like a nice, like it's refreshing, but it has a lot of like tropical notes, a little bit fuller body. I really like that. Okay, so this is the Montefalco Reserva. This is going to be 70% Sangiovese, and then it's blended with 15% of the Sagrantino and 15% of Merlot. So this is not going to be as tannic. It's a lot just smoother and more velvety. I'm getting a lot of black cherries, cassis, kind of like stewed fruits, vanilla, baking spices. It's really nice. I can still taste the kind of spiciness of the Sagrantino, but the Merlot really just kind of smooths it out, and the Sangiovese adds a little bit more a red fruit character to just balance out the robustness of the Sagrantino. Now I'm trying the Merlot. This is 100% Merlot. Oddly enough, this one is more expensive. It's also IGT versus DOC, so I still don't understand why it's more expensive. I'll have to ask. This is like very easy to drink, like it's Merlot. I'm getting like, you know, the plum notes. I'm getting some vanilla from the oak. There's a little bit of like a licorice character in there, but the aroma I think is lacking. It's not nearly as aromatic as the Reserva blend, and the finish is very, very short. So like it's not bad, but like I just don't think it is. I don't think it's worth the price. There's a lot of aging that went into this, so I'm guessing that's why it's more expensive, because it just adds to the cost, but I just don't think it's very complex. It's like, some Merlot. So here finally I am tasting the 100% Sagrantino variety. This is called 25 Anni. This was produced in honor of their 25th anniversary of the winery. They produced it in 1993, and every single year since then they've been producing this wine. This is produced using only the very best Sagrantino grapes, and she was explaining that they actually ferment these in whole bunches, which typically that is a technique that is used to kind of preserve the fresh fruit flavor of the grapes and kind of reduce the astringency of the tannins. After the grapes are pressed, this is aged in oak barriques, and she was explaining that they actually take the barrels and they roll them very gently to kind of try and extract more flavor from the oak into the wine. They're very careful with the wine so as to not have too many tannins and too much astringency. And I must say, I'm actually really surprised. I actually really like this one. It still has a lot of the flavors of the Sagrantino that I had last night for dinner, but it's much less tannic, and there's not as much like dried herbs and licorice flavor. I'm going to read you the notes here from the pamphlet because it's just very complex. It's so complex I don't know if I could do a good job describing it. So it says here, blackberry jam, rose potpourri, nutmeg, pepper, pine resin, mint, clove, and cocoa. So I'm definitely getting a lot of like black fruits, but then again, there's kind of like a unique like herbal character. There's some spiciness to it. There's a little bit of chocolate. It's a really nice wine. It's a really nice wine. Like, I'm actually surprised. However, it's pretty expensive. It's like 56 euros. So you can imagine if you were to buy this at like a restaurant, it'd be like over $100, $150, something like that. Something pretty expensive. I don't know what it would cost in the US. Probably more. Probably more in the US. They only export 30% to the US, and I don't know if this bottle even makes it over there. So, cheers. Good morning. It is the next day, obviously. Yesterday when we got back from the winery, we just took a nap because we were so tired. It's very hot here this week. It was like 94, 95 degrees when we were doing that tasting outside, and it was like tolerable in the shade, and we kind of just wanted to be outside to see the views and everything, but the heat definitely takes a lot out of you, and once it gets into the late afternoon, it's like a little bit too hot to be outside walking around on like a hilly, scenic town. So it seems like everybody here just takes like a little siesta in the afternoon, so that is exactly what we did. Also, the tours, a little bit early for us. I think next time I plan a trip like this, I'm gonna ask to do the tours a little bit later. 9 a.m. It really isn't that early, but it is early if you eat dinner at like 8 or 9 o'clock. And then the pace of life here is just, it's like a little bit slower. So the dinners last a really long time. And then before you know it, we get back, it's like midnight, and then we shower and get ready for bed, and it's like 1 a.m. So we're still going to bed at 1 a.m. like we do back home, but then we're having to like get up and like get ready for a tour and everything like that. So needless to say, we were tired. So we took a little bit of a nap. We just kind of relaxed in our room, and then we wanted to pick another town to go to, but we wanted to pick one that would be kind of good for dinner, like one that had enough restaurants. And our tour guide that we took the tour with yesterday in Montefalco, she told us she was from Foligno, hopefully I'm pronouncing that correctly, and she said that's one of like the bigger towns in the area. It's in the valley, so it's flat. It's not like a big scenic hill town, but it is a little bit bigger, has like a wider like range of restaurants. So we were like, you know what, let's go here. And it actually was a very beautiful town. Like, yeah, it doesn't have the views and stuff, but it was cute because it seemed very residential. There were like families out and about. We walked through a little park. It was really nice. I would definitely recommend going to Foligno, and I actually found a really good restaurant. It was probably one of my favorite meals in Italy so far because everything was just like very fresh and seasonal. I loved the panzanella salad with the little tomatoes. Oh, so good. Seems like a local specialty is the truffle pasta because they do grow, or truffles grow naturally here in this region. So they do have truffles on a lot of things, and it was so delicious. And then we got eggplant parmesan, which, like, come on, that's like always good. And there was so much cheese. It was just really good. It was a delightful evening. My impression of Umbria so far is kind of what I thought it would be. There are parts that are more highly elevated compared to Tuscany, but you still get a lot of very similar beauty that you get in Tuscany. Here in the towns that we've been to so far, there's like nobody there. There's like no tourists. I don't hear people speaking English. The people speak like decent English, decent enough that you can like, you know, order food and do the things that you want, but it's not overcrowded here. This is like a complete 180 from what we had in Rome. So I don't know. We'll see. We have more places to go on this trip. Maybe some of the other towns will be more crowded, but so far there's really no tour bus, like not tons of people. It's been really quiet. So if you want to explore kind of like a more rustic, scenic region of Italy, I, at least so far, highly recommend Umbria because there's not a lot of tourists around. Yes, it gets very hot, but I don't think it's hot like this all the time. I think this is like a little much for them. Our little air conditioning in here is definitely working overtime. But yeah, so far it's absolutely beautiful. And the people, again, at least so far, have been very nice, very polite, very patient with us. I mean, I'm sure I sound like an idiot trying to like order things and I can't speak Italian, but people are very nice. Even in Rome, like people were very nice. So far, everything has been great. And you know, you saw the wine tasting yesterday. The wine here is really good. I didn't like that one sagrantino wine that I had at dinner the other day, but I really liked the ones that I had yesterday, and I really liked the blends. Wine is good, food is amazing and fresh, the people are nice, it's beautiful here. So far I really like it. And on the itinerary for today, we are actually going to be exploring the city that we're in today, which is Assisi. There's a lot of history here. There's a lot of like religious history here. I know there is like a big church or cathedral that we're going to be visiting. It's going to be kind of like a city, you know, historical type of tour. No wine tasting today, although I'm sure there'll be like some wine tasting, if you know what I mean. So anyway, I'll stop blabbering on and then we will get the day started. Welcome to Assisi, birthplace of St. Francis and St. Clare. This was my favorite town that we visited on this trip. I have been to my fair share of small historic towns, and listen, maybe it's just recency bias, but there's something very special about Assisi. It never breaks character. The moment you enter through the Roman walls, you feel like you are in the Middle Ages, of course with some ancient Roman structures mixed in. Making our way through the winding streets, there is so much history to experience. I do recommend hiring a guide or maybe taking a tour so you can learn and appreciate all the little historic details that Assisi has to offer. But I also do recommend staying in Assisi if you visit. Even just walking around, getting lunch, coffee, gelato was so pleasant. There are lots of options, and from what we saw, not many tourists. We first visited the Basilica of St. Clare, a beautiful church constructed in the 13th century where the remains of the saint still rest today. The striped design of pink and white stone on the facade of the church reminded me a bit of the Orvieto Cathedral, which I featured in my last vlog. This site is not to be missed. I was not allowed to film inside, but I did enjoy witnessing the beautiful frescoes and panels detailing the life of this prominent saint. The star of Assisi, however, is the Basilica of St. Francis of Assisi, an official UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most important places of Christian pilgrimage in Italy. The basilica features an upper and lower church with an impressive range of frescoes from late medieval painters. I was thankful for our tour from the previous day in Montefalco because I was able to understand and appreciate the depictions of St. Francis, not only in the basilica, but also throughout Assisi. My favorite painting, which had been partially destroyed, is this one of the Mother and Holy Child. Our guide told us that on the day of the spring equinox, the sun perfectly shines through the keyhole of the basilica to precisely illuminate the embracing figures. Okay, so technically I did lie earlier. There was some wine tasting on this day. After the tour, I did not realize we were heading to a local winery for a picnic lunch in the countryside. To be honest, the wine was just okay, but the view of the basilica from afar was the perfect end to our afternoon. After relaxing from the heat of the day, that evening we found a local pizza restaurant just steps away from Hotel Nun. As you can see, the pizza was amazing. So many good restaurants to try in Assisi. And that is it, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed my adventures through Umbria. Thank you for joining me. And if you like this video, please don't forget to give me a thumbs up and subscribe. If you aren't done just yet, I will have the rest of my Italy and world travel vlogs linked down below for you to enjoy. And with that, friends, I hope that you see some beauty in your day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.